All right, my friends, greeting once again. This is the Reverend Dr. Claud A. Sinclair. This is part 2 of the original of the series, Symptoms versus Solutions, where we talk about niggitis. The first time I had it was like more of a question and answer type dialogue. I lost my cohort there, so we're going to go through this, and I'm going to try to make it as entertaining and understandable as I go through this. This is for everyone, no matter what your economic level is. We both have symptoms of niggerisms, and I talked about niggerism niggerisms. I talked about the post-traumatic slave disorder, and basically this refers to niggitis. So I use 3 terms that we're going to go through today. We're going to attempt to further define them as I see it, just so we can put a label on this thing and try to break down each one. So I believe we can understand it, that we can address them as a community. All right, so let me read the question first. A little different approach here. Let me read a question, and then I'll attempt to go through it and get an answer to this, right? It says, you go on to say that niggitis is a form of mental stagnation, stemming from not being allowed to nurture and grow the brain, allowing our people to live up to their full potential. You also make a profound statement that this treatment of Afro-Americans is based upon and motivated by fear and greed of the white establishment. Are you giving us, you're giving us a lot to think about, but first, let's define the terms you are using to describe our condition in order for us to solve this ever-pressing dilemma facing communities across this nation and the world, because it seems to have a common denominator or cause, which is white racism and greed. So could you quickly summarize what you are trying to communicate to us as we go through this interview, as well as define the terms being used? Of course, yes. All right, that's a good question. The objective of this conversation is to create economic, social, and political equality. However, the nation is in turmoil and broken right now. So not only, and it's been in turmoil and broken for quite some time, so not only is it time to address and correct these issues, which go way beyond people of color. We want to fix this American experiment and make it true to his words written on paper, that all men are created equal. First, I want to address barriers to equality and discuss the solution, if I may. All right. These terms have a common source: post-traumatic slave disorder, niggitis, and niggerism. These are terms being used by me to help to describe the latent subconscious effects of being brutalized since slavery, lynching, Jane Crow, and Jim Crow in the form of legalized terrorism and oppression over hundreds of years, being passed down from generation to generation, resulting in various forms of post-traumatic slave disorder, all stemming from racism. Niggitis is a terminable, but yet curable mental disease. If caught early enough in life, could be gradually reversed. If we could only reach and teach the minds of our children at an early age, starting at around 10 years of age, if not before. However, our entire community, and especially our so-called black leadership, must be re-educated. And if they are too old and are unwilling to face these changing times, they must step aside or be pushed aside, because we must drain the swamp within our communities of those individuals who are part of the problem and not capable of ushering in a solution, of which obviously they are not capable because they created the problem in the first place. Niggerism is a way of conduct and the way we think about everyday life. I have created an entire document that addresses this way of thinking, which basically highlights inappropriate behavior and thinking, which causes a dysfunctional lifestyle and a hostility within our ranks. For example, making important decisions without getting professional advice, and then, when things go wrong, seek advice time and time again after the damage has already been done. The problem is mind-boggling that black people think they know everything without even reading a book or taking a course and are seeking competent advice. I said competent guidance before acting. This is why our collective net worth is predicted to be at zero in less than 20 years. I have created an estate planning legacy calendar for such purpose to help address this critical wealth drain issue in my University in the Home continuing education program through Boardwalk School of Economics. Question: what are a few examples of these occurrences of trauma, manifestations of trauma caused by white America on the black community and communities of color? Okay. Black people cannot come together due to self-hatred, living their lives through the eyes of their oppressor, with whom they have fallen in love, which they have a term used for such a condition called the Stockholm Syndrome. Due to years of legalized forced separation and oppression, blacks being lynched and their communities burned to the ground again and again, first by whites, who taught blacks to do this. When blacks have come together to improve their lives, it results in black men greeting each other and saying, "What's happening?" Because we have not discovered how to remove ourselves from this oppressive and tragic situation and don't know what's going on and how to wake up from this collective nightmare. Let me emphasize again that it was whites who would come into black communities and burn them down because they were jealous of their unity and economic progress. In their white community gatherings, they would say to themselves, "We have to do something about these Negroes making so much progress, because if we don't do something, they will own everything and we'll be working for them." This is why immigration was started, in order to dilute black economic power. So they began to attack the black image through smear campaigns, black exploitation films, FBI, COINTEL, black ops programs, the assassination of black leaders, broke up our movements, destroyed the independence of our clergy through the offering of grants in exchange for doing their bidding, flooded our communities with drugs, and began to break up and destroy our communities using the National Guards in order to burn down and blow up 39 major black communities across this country during the late 60s, and sending our brothers and sisters, mothers, fathers to prison in order to create jobs for white rural America. Now these same drug laws have been legalized. Those broken individuals, homes, and communities have not been restored, leaving many languishing behind bars, while white children not only sell marijuana legally, but allowed to deliver it to homes legally without recourse. The Reagan-Bush-Clinton war on drugs was an unfair attack on people of color, using military bases and military operatives to carry out the nefarious, underhanded strategy to destroy communities of color. These acts by white America were intentional and racist with lasting effects. Institutional racism is preventing America from evolving into a more perfect union. They have to be dismantled and destroyed if we are to evolve as a nation. Question. Now hold on for a minute. What qualifies you to make such a diagnosis? Are you a doctor? Yes, I am. Right? Okay then. Question. Okay then. What field of specialization is your doctorate degree? All right. My doctorate degree is in law for over 24 years now, with a professional emphasis as a corporate financial analyst for 15 years. I have a bachelor's degree in business financial management and a bachelor's degree in economics, as well as a certificate in financial instruments. I was a licensed financial planner for 15 years before practicing law, licensed in insurance, securities, and tax preparation, with a current legal emphasis in estate planning and the creation, accumulation, and preservation of wealth. I have written a 633-page book on the subject called Uncommon Knowledge, the series, Poor Today, Rich Tomorrow, which contains 12 chapters and quizzes after each chapter, with an accompanying legacy calendar and workbook. I have created from this material an 18-month home study curriculum, which is ready and waiting for your enrollment. I consider myself, in addition to being a licensed minister and attorney, a lay economist, and a social engineer for change. My program is designed to do just that, but it is based upon the desire, dedication, and determination of its participants who are hungry for change in their spiritual, social, political, and economic lives. This is a personal development ministry, a boot camp in change and enlightenment. Question. Okay, I can accept that. So, then let's move forward with this premise based upon your explanation. Let's go back then to the cause of this condition you call niggeritis. What causes this seemingly very serious mental condition, according to you? It comes from years of colonial oppression in America, which leaves its victim in a state of shock and awe, which is a military strategy used by whites to conquer the defenseless, overcoming them with quick and overwhelming destruction. Some describe this condition of living in a society of constant fear and terror as post-traumatic slave disorder. It's like a deer being caught in a car's headlights. It is paralyzed and does not know what to do in order to remove itself from the situation. It is similar to people who have been invaded while they slept and continuously brutalized by ferocious, dehumanizing people without a conscience, who have stolen everything you have and destroyed everything you love and took it for themselves. Just imagine someone knocking on your door, shooting you while you sleep, and or running you out of your home and moving in. You come by now and then, asking for your belongings, but you are told to get away, and sometimes the people are shot and killed. As time goes on, you forget that the house which was taken by force belongs to you, and you begin to beg for handouts from the same house. This house is America. You soon believe and teach your children that this is not your house, and you are a people without a house. This psychological damage has been reinforced by the colonizers and our own parents and fake leadership, who try to indoctrinate us in the ways of the oppressor in order to accept your fate, which are a part of the shock and awe, because deep in our spirit we know something is wrong. These colonizers and our own swamp people have supported these institutions of oppression that live on generation after generation. Question. Are you saying that the U.S. government is a racist corporate entity? Yes, but it's complicated. The U.S. government has two faces and two tongues and speaks out of both sides of its mouth at the same time, just like the Democrats and Republican political parties. These colonizers have made racism a part of the dynamics of America, as they have done in Canada, Australia, Africa, Europe, and all over this planet in order to stay in power. Question. Let's talk about institutionalized racism in America. What is racism and how does it work? Okay. Racism is a system which emboldens white Americans to commit crimes against black Americans and people of color. First, racism spends an inordinate amount of time dehumanizing its victims in society, which is reflected through movies, ingrained in the news, and government policies. Police brutality is a symptom of racism and the criminal injustice system, which is made up of individuals with hatred in their soulless hearts. When the South lost the Civil War to the North sold black America out, who are the same group of people who caused its wars to be won, from the Civil War through World War I and World War II. During the Civil War, the North betrayed black America when they withdrew the military from the South, which were protecting black slaves from angry white mobs who lost the war. These same Southern whites moved into government and began to implement Southern justice and policies to re-enslave those liberated people of color in the slave states who fought for the North. They turned the intent of the 13th Amendment upside down and inside out, diverting it from its original purpose by criminalizing and enslaving black Americans. So, The biggest culprit in racism is a criminal, unjust system